Hello, Internet. Hope everybody is having a fantastic Monday. How's everybody feeling? How you guys doing? Hope you guys don't have a case of the Mondays, and I hope you guys did not get stuck in traffic today. What a bunch of shenanigans, huh? There's traffic everywhere, all over the country. Bunch of yahoos protesting on freeways and bridges. Yeah, I think we should prepare for a lot of that coming into the summer. There's going to be quite a bit of shenanigans regarding the protests. Did it remind you guys of anything? Did these protests seem to rhyme with any other protests of recent years? Different dress, but same people. A little interesting, isn't it? A little interesting how these protests seem to be the exact same people from the George Floyd Black Lives Matter protests. And it's also really weird how they seem to be so well funded and so well organized. Why is that? Why is that? What the heck is going on? This doesn't seem organic. How many of those people do you think can actually point out Gaza on a map? I'm thinking there's not many. I'm thinking there is not too many of them. You know what, guys? I forgot to pull up the Rumble chat. I forgot to say hello, friends, before the show. What a jerk I am. Well, let me pop the chat out here and get everything set up. How is everybody doing? Everybody having a fantastic evening? Talk to me. You know how it makes me feel better about my self-esteem? Let's see here. All right. We are live over on the Twitter world. Wally world, good to see you. You know what, dude? Scarlett hasn't been saying hi. She didn't come say hi last night. Scarlett, come say hi to Wally. You come say hi to Wally right now. You don't paw me. Get up here and say hi to Wally. Stop pawing me. Wally, she's just pawing me. Come up here. Say hi to everybody. Okay, I know. All right, you can go sit back in front of the heater now. Oh, don't cough on me. All right. Okay. All right, folks. You got your Scarlet fix in. There you go, Wally World. I did that just for you. Gaslit Zombie, how you doing? Nice to see you. Tim Holiday, sorry. Nice to see you. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. A lot to get through. I don't know if I'm going to go the full 2 hours. Probably won't. I don't think I have that much stuff pulled up, but we do have plenty to go. Actually, every time I say we're not going to go 2 hours, we always end up going 2 hours. So, well, we'll see what happens. All right, folks. Well, yeah, we got enough people in here. We'll hop right into it. You guys over on Rumble, don't be so quiet. You know how I like to hear from you. All right, let's get into some stuff. So we had a bunch of freeway shenanigans. Cali girl, nice to see you. Nice to finally see you live. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here. Makes me feel better about my self-esteem. All righty. Let's go over to Bay Area State of Mind. If you guys don't follow this account, you should. He will not follow you back. Do not count on it. This gentleman follows 0 people. 0. You see that there? It's hilarious. He does not follow anyone. It's pretty good. All righty, let's look at the Golden Gate Bridge. That was the big story. That was the big. I wouldn't want to stand in the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge and block off traffic. Just have the thing packed with cars. I wonder if it started sagging at all. I wonder if you guys could see a difference because of the weight. Anyway, let's look at these silly protesters blocking off traffic with all their signs and the little, they had the Chinese finger cuffs, but for entire arms. Did you guys see that? They were linking their arms together. Where'd they get all this stuff? Where does it happen? It's so weird how this doesn't seem to be organic. It's not just like a ragtag protest. These are well funded and well organized. So very weird. So this is the Golden Gate Bridge from earlier. I'm sure you guys all saw this. I hope none of you guys got stuck in this nonsense. That would suck. I would be so mad. Tangerine Shine, nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Good to see you here. Yeah, I would be so mad if I was stuck in this freaking nonsense. I'd be losing my shit. Absolutely losing it. But yeah, I'm gonna be staying over here on this side of the hill. I don't want to get caught in these shenanigans. So yeah, the Golden Gate Bridge. Then you had right across the bay, you had 880 shut down by these same yahoos. So you had this going on over on 880. I believe this was near the Coliseum. Look how it's just so weird. I like. All right. So you got all these cops right here. There's not that many people, and where'd they get these barrels from? They got barrels. Oh, okay, they chained themselves to these barrels. Why can't the cops move them? Do the cops have some sort of stand down order? Why? Why don't the cops remove them? They did in Miami. But why don't the cops remove them from the freeway? It seems like it would be fairly easy to do. You got all these Palestinian flags up along the freeway here. Now, some of these people, I'm sure, actually are legitimately there because they don't agree with what's going on in Palestine and all that stuff. As you guys know, neither do I. I'm actually, I sympathize with this cause quite greatly. I do believe that it is horrible what Israel is doing in Palestine. It is a genocide, if you ask me. They're committing war crimes, and it's disgusting. I don't think these people are in it for the cause, most of them. I think most of them want to feel like they're part of something, and they are useful idiots. That this is being done for an entirely different reason, and I don't think it has anything to do with Gaza. We'll get into that. But so you have San Francisco, you have Oakland. Here's another one from Oakland. This is just this is right down the way from the one I just showed you. This is Highway 980. So this is at the interchange. This is like where 880 basically ends, and it hangs right towards the Oakland foothills. This is 980, so they got it all blocked off there too. Yeah, very strange. It's all at the same time, all doing the same thing. So you got San Francisco, you got Oakland in multiple locations. Then you've got the Brooklyn Bridge. Got the Brooklyn Bridge over here. Let's go to a clip from Fox News. I probably won't play the full thing here.
So these anti-Israel protesters have gathered and are purposely trying to impede traffic there. Take a look on the left side of your screen. The Brooklyn Bridge has a pedestrian walkway. It looks like things are getting a little physical right now. It looks like some of those bike officers are trying to make a few arrests there. The crowd is now running further down the bridge. But you see the people watching from above up on the left. That is a pedestrian walkway where you can walk down the Brooklyn Bridge if you'd like to. These activists, these protesters have decided, no, we don't want to do that. We want to block traffic instead. So what you see, the officers in the neon shirts, those are bike officers, obviously trying to either shoo them off of the bridge or start taking some folks into custody. And you can see they're trying to get away from those officers now. And Martha, we had the live shot earlier. Somebody had a Hezbollah flag walking around there. That is remarkable to see, a Hezbollah flag being paraded around the streets of Manhattan. That's not something I don't think anybody would expect to see, but that's the climate we're in these days.
Yeah, and I mean, borders wide open. It's just, I was saying last night, so as anti what's going on in Gaza that I am, this does not mean that I'm pro Hezbollah, pro freaking any. I'm not. I don't particularly agree with the Muslim culture either. I'm not down with throwing gays off buildings. I'm not down with chopping people's hands off that stole. Might be able to twist my arm on that one. I'm not down with a whole bunch of stuff that they do in Sharia law. Not down with it. There's a lot of people that have look what's happened in Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan is like primarily Muslim now, and I think their whole city council is basically Muslim. Fact check me on that. But there's a lot of illegal immigrants that have come here that aren't coming here from Mexico in search of a better life, trying to, get clear from the cartels. There's a lot of people coming from all over the place. There could be some people coming over here for nefarious purposes, creating cells and, grouping together young fighting age men, potentially even obtaining weapons, that sort of thing. Well, okay, we'll keep going. Keep going. That's the Brooklyn Bridge. So we got San Francisco. We got Oakland in 2 locations. We got the Brooklyn Bridge. Oh, look at this. Eugene, Oregon. Eugene? Man. I got a story from Eugene. That was one of my posts that went viral, actually. I stopped in Eugene to get gas on the way back from Washington when my father passed away in June of 2020, middle of COVID. Didn't get to have a funeral for him, so that's something I will never forgive the Branch Covidians for. I got to say goodbye to him in an empty room. That's it. No funeral for Dad. And then on my way home, I had to stop in Eugene, Oregon, and get gas. And I forgot that you're not allowed to pump your own gas in Eugene, Oregon. And as I got out of the car, the gas station attendant comes running up to me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm not allowed to pump my own gas here." Yeah, I even chuckled a little bit for a moment because it was kind of like, silly me. I forgot. I found it funny because I just think it's weird that you're not allowed to pump your own gas. And he says, "Oh, so you're not from Oregon? Why you traveling out of state in a worldwide pandemic?" He says. And my girlfriend at the time had to stop me from ripping his arms off and beating him with his own arms. That's what I was about to do. And she had to stop me from doing that. I was not a fan of Eugene, Oregon. And yeah, I'm not a fan. My dad was. My dad loved Eugene, Oregon because they had a Togo's. And my dad was a huge fan of Togo's. So that's my Eugene story. But looks like, okay, so we got San Francisco, we got Oakland, we got Eugene, Oregon. I'm sure they did something in Portland as well. And where else we got here? We got O'Hare Airport, Chicago. Let's check this out. It's so weird. How are all these protests happening all over the country at the same time? So well organized. Like, how's this happening? It's so weird. It's almost like it's not organic at all.
Traffic's bad when people are literally sitting on top of their cars and walking to the airport. Wow. Oh, there's a protest. That's annoying.
What do they got? Patriot front there? Listen to the drum line they got.
I can't tell. You see a lot of
So all these people just trying to get their damn flights, they just got out of their cars. They were probably in Ubers, so they just, okay, I'm going to get out and walk. I doubt people abandoned their car there, but I would be pretty annoyed. I would be pretty annoyed indeed.
When I see one singular person, there's a lot of people walking right now. I think I see you at the gate. And you have a backpack. Is it gray?
All right, so we got San Francisco, we got Oakland, we got Eugene, Oregon, we've got the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. Now we've got Chicago. Weird. Almost seems coordinated. Tangerine Shine. Which NGO coordinated the events of today? A lot of people were saying it was crap. There's some NGO that is basically like the Muslim version of AIPAC, from my understanding, and a lot of people are trying to blame them. I'm not sure. So a Hezbollah flag, an open southern border. We are in danger. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great at all. I remember that post. Oh, yeah, the one about my pops. Yeah, it's in my highlights tab if you want to read it. That one went super mega viral. That was the one that got James Woods to follow me. He that one apparently got him a little choked up. The Portland protest wasn't simultaneous. I don't think all of them were. CAIR. Good call, Tangerine Shine. That is right. CAIR. Yeah, a lot of people are blaming that organization. I don't think it is. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's the same Open Society Foundation that funded the Black Lives Matter protests because they're so similar and it's the same people. I would tend to think that's what it is. And we'll get into that a little bit later. I have no evidence to support my theory. It's just, it looks the same. It rhymes. So that's where my speculation is. I think it was scheduled for 5 o'clock tonight. 5 o'clock? Huh. Oh, the one in Portland? Okay. All right. Gaslit Zombie, America first, only, period. 100%. 100% with you. Yeah. I don't care. I don't care if you support Palestine. I don't care if you support Israel. I don't want American dollars going there. None at all. Man, freaking Dennis got me earlier. You guys know Dennis? You guys know Dennis on Twitter? The pounder of Twinks? Do you guys know Dennis? He's like the ultimate troll. Pretends to be other people. He's been doing it forever. And he got me. He got me today. He pretended he was Ben Shapiro. And he said, he just goes out and he says, an attack on Israel is an attack on America. He just says stuff like that just to get Americans pissed off, just get everybody pissed off. He pretends to be people and then says shit that he knows will trigger people. He got me. Yeah, he definitely got me earlier. I was mad. I just said, fuck you, no. Then I was like, wait a minute. That might be Dennis. And sure enough, I go and check. First thing it says is pounder of Twinks. That was Dennis indeed. Dennis got me earlier. I owe him $8. One of these days I need to pay him. I need to pay the damn guy. All right, let's keep going. All right, what else? What other city do we got? What do we got next? Oh, they tried to scrap in Miami. Didn't work out so well in Miami. I guess they don't play. They don't play in Miami. It's so weird. Look at the difference. Look at the difference between Miami cops and the highway patrol in Oakland. No, cops dragging them away. They got zip tie handcuffs. They're ready to go. Why couldn't the highway patrol do this in California? Why? I mean, even in New York, they were trying to sorry, I got to silence my phone out. Sometimes I forget to put it on do not disturb. Even in New York, they were trying to at least corral them off the bridge. Why is California just put up with this crap and just like, yeah, you guys can just, stop on the freeway, do your thing. We'll just let us know when you're done. We'll keep the traffic at bay. Why? Why is it cool? Why is it cool for California to do that? So Miami here. And like, where'd they get the tube socks? Where'd they get the arm tube socks? The Chinese finger cuffs? Where'd they get these? The Chinese finger cuffs for arms? Where did they get them? And who volunteered to be in the middle? That would suck. Yeah, just go ahead and bind up both my arms. It's fine. I mean, can you imagine you get like a really wicked itch? Speaking of that, kind of got an itch right now. Imagine that. That would suck really bad. Both your arms are bound up, and you're like, I got a really nasty itch on my knee. Can you get it? It's like something you can't reach with your foot. That would be horrible. Why would you volunteer to do that? And where did they get these things? Did they make them? Just okay. Miami was not playing around. Didn't go well in Miami. All right, this is another one from the Golden Gate Bridge, and this is just because people started to get fed up, and yeah, they got fed up and started yelling at protesters. So I'm kind of shocked that things haven't gotten violent. You don't want shit getting crazy on top of the Golden Gate Bridge. You're suspended very high above the water, and not to be. I already talked about my dad. Sorry, but not to be too much of a downer. My uncle jumped off this bridge when I was 10. It was like my first experience with death. And yeah, when I was 10 years old, my uncle jumped off this bridge. He was a drug addict and he was out of his mind. Me and my sister didn't know that he was a drug addict. We loved the guy. And this is one of the reasons I go so hard on the progressive laws that allow open air drug use, drug dealing, and they call it's the ultimate gaslighting because they call it harm prevention. They call their strategies of handing out fentanyl needles and crack pipes, they call that harm prevention. It's not preventing any harm, especially with the trank that they are allowed to deal, which I talk about all the time. It's not fentanyl. The drug dealers tell people that they're selling them fentanyl, but it's cut with trank. More and more, higher and higher quantities of trank. And that's the horse tranquilizer that I talk about all the time that the human body can't handle. So it starts to eat your flesh away. That's why you see all these festering, disgusting wounds. And you see so many amputees on the streets that are still addicted to these drugs. It's just, they allow this. And that's one of the reasons I go so hard on it, because drugs got my uncle and I loved him very much. And I still think about him a lot. So it's one of the reasons I go so hard about this crap. All right, Golden Gate Bridge. People getting angry.
You get out of the road! You're being set in the fucking road! You don't understand!
So all of them are in KN95 masks. All of them. Now and they're even like peak COVID, when everybody was freaking out. Even then, outside wearing a mask, you're an idiot. Now it's just, are you kidding me? Wearing a mask anywhere, much less outside on the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge. Are they really doing this because they think they're protecting each other, protecting themselves? No, they're not. They're doing it because they want to be part of the club. It's part of their uniform. It's part of their cult uniform. And they also don't want people to see their faces. It's nonsense. People, I don't want to advocate for violence, but I might, if I was caught in this situation, just might start ripping people's masks off ever so quick. Like I might do that. I'm not advocating for it at all by any means.
Do you think I care? You're in the round. Please calm down. You're being filmed.
Yeah, well, the masks are definitely to obscure their identity, but yet it's not just that. It is part of their cult uniform. It's part of their cult progressive uniform. I mean, I live in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I go to the grocery store. There's still like 10% of the people wearing masks. Often, always. It's insane. You go down to Santa Cruz, it's even worse. It's like 20% of people are still wearing masks all the time. It's freaking bonkers. I can't stand it. It triggers me. It triggers the crap out of me.
Just talk to them. Don't shove anything.
I'm not shoving anybody. I'm getting down the fucking road. Thank you.
You just assaulted us. This is what they do too. They are like I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. They push, and they want your reaction. They want you to go get violent. So then they can say, look at all these MAGA people. And the guy's like, I'm not even vote for Trump. He's like, I'm a liberal. This is what they do. This is it. It's got to be in some Marxist communist book somewhere that this is their strategy. Poke them and annoy them and push them until they strike you. And then, look what they did to me. Get it on video, make that go viral. And then look, they're the bad guys now. When you're the ones blocking bridges, I wonder if the ferry companies are happy that this is happening. I bet the ferries did good business today.
Free Palestine!
Cops just standing there. Why isn't there tow trucks out there? Why aren't they cracking people in the knees? Not the cops. Cops should stand by, and if people get violent and start punching people in the face, you're the one blocking the bridge. Cops in San Francisco are turning a blind eye to fentanyl dealers, people shitting on the sidewalk, camping, stealing. Well, if people decide to go, and I'm not advocating for it, but if people decide to go and start punching leftist masked protesters that are blocking bridges, punching them in the face, cops should maybe turn a blind eye to that too. Just saying, they're turning a blind eye to everything else that's happening in the city. The intersection takeovers, people breaking car windows. They're turning a blind eye to everything. Guarantee if one of these protesters gets punched in the face that they would attack. The cops would take that person to jail. That's pretty much the definition of anarcho-tyranny.
To all degrees of economy that are complicit.
And they get on their bullhorns. These are the super narcissistic people that just love to hear themselves talk as I'm talking by myself into a microphone. Let's leave it there. They have to get on their soapbox and act like they're changing the world somehow. I'm just kind of describing myself right now, aren't I? Well, at least I'm self-reflecting, okay? I'm not being that's okay. Maybe I am a narcissist too. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Wally, aren't they committing a crime so they can be removed? Well, yeah, but aren't the fentanyl dealers committing a crime? Aren't the people that are stealing from grocery stores committing a crime? Aren't the people that are breaking car windows committing a crime? People getting assaulted all over the streets of San Francisco, they're committing a crime. Cops don't do nothing. They don't do nothing about it. They're only going to do something about it if you are a middle-class person trying to park in Pacific Heights for more than 2 hours, then you're going to get a ticket. If you're a Trump supporter and you flick a leftist in the ear, you're going to go to the gulag for 10 years, all that kind of crap. Terry Wallace, cops pissing me off these days. Damn straight. Yes, ma'am. Tangerine Shine. Remember when cops would unleash dogs and water cannons on black civil rights protesters in the 60s? Yeah. I mean, I think they did that to all protesters. It's just what they did. Tangerine, no, before my time. I mean, yeah, I don't remember it. I wasn't alive back then either, but I've seen the footage. I mean, remember Kent College when they shot and killed people for protesting the Vietnam War? Remember that one? 10 soldiers and Nixon coming. We're finally on our own. That was Neil Young. That was Neil Young before he went all radical and decided to leave Spotify because Joe Rogan made him sad. Tangerine Shine, some, but I've seen the footage of the protesters being blasted and dog bit. When you say blasted, it sounds sexual to me. I have a dirty mind. Northside, the cops only care if it looks like they will show up to the court hearing. Exactly. They only care if they can extract money from you. Yep. Indeedy. All right. Where else we got? Where else do we got, guys? Where else were they protesting? Well, there was more cities that they're protesting in. I'm just not going to go to every single city that they protested in. But what's this? What did I get here? How did I do this? Sorry, folks. Sorry, folks. I lost where I was at. Okay. So, okay, good. I'm glad I didn't lose this. This is probably like one of the most important things. Okay, so this is all well organized, well funded. It's obviously not organic. Who's behind this? Who's behind it, right? All right, let's watch this video. Somebody sent this to me. What? All right, is it happening again? Do you guys have audio? I don't have audio again. So frustrating. Stand by. Gotta fix my silly audio. Let's go to this. Probably not going to fix the problem. Let's try again. Nope, didn't fix the problem. Let me go back. This happened last night too, and I don't know why it's happening. This should fix the problem. If it doesn't, I'm going to be angry. No, it didn't. All right, you guys tell me if you got audio.
On April 15th, people across 4 continents will launch an economic blockade in solidarity with Palestine.
Can't stand
Through this coordinated mobilization, we will jam up trade choke points and disrupt the global economy.
Well, I know you hear me. Tell me if you hear the audio.
30 cities and counting have joined the effort.
You guys hear the audio?
This comes as Yemen is bombed to secure global trade routes, and billions of dollars continue to fund the occupation.
I can't hear it. I don't know why it's.
The time has come to open up new fronts against the Zionist war machine. It's time for collective risk.
So,
the global movement for Palestine has been gaining unprecedented momentum.
So, obviously, very well funded, very well organized.
What is happening in Gaza is unbearable. And we know that symbolic actions are not enough.
And again, I agree with the cause. I agree. I want there to be some sort of ceasefire. I want people to stop being murdered. And yes, I do believe Israel's committing war crimes, but I don't believe that's what this is about. I believe they're using this as an excuse, just like they use George Floyd as an excuse, just like they use the climate protests as excuses. It's all excuses to create chaos. Bunch of chaos agents and useful idiots.
We must escalate.
Oh, we must escalate. Look at this. We must commit
As
violence.
Palestinians face one brutal atrocity after another, we've watched them respond with collective resilience and fortitude. They inspire us to action. Their pain is our rage. For this, we are organizing and coordinating, and on April 15th, we will disrupt global logistical hubs and will clog flows of capital worldwide. In Melbourne, Australia, Taipei, Taiwan, Genoa, Italy, Catalonia,
The RGS, quit telling me how to live my life, okay?
Spain, Miami, Oakland, London, Athens, Greece, Detroit, Seattle, Montreal, and in dozens of other cities across the world, we will identify and blockade major
Look at all these cities.
choke points in the economy. We will focus on points of production and circulation with the aim of causing maximum economic impact. If one city faces police repression, other cities will extend or expand blockades in solidarity. We will not talk to the police.
Who put this video together? It's not the person. It's not the account that shared this video. So who put this whole thing together?
Solidarity is affinity, and we have each other's backs. For 75 years, Israel has operated with impunity, but the Zionist project must end now. Go to a15action.com.
Go to a15action.com. One of you guys should go to that website and tell me what you see. I didn't notice that the first time I watched this video. a15action.com.
For more information and how to plug in.
I might have to go to that. I need to write that down. I need to go to this website, and then next time they're going to plan something like this, I need to go infiltrate the protest and try to get footage. Thing is, I would stand out like a sore thumb, even if I wore a freaking mask. That would be hilarious. I ruined my career for deciding not to wear a mask, and if I decided to put on a mask so I could go infiltrate protests, I would still stand out like a sore thumb. I'm 6'5". It'd be very hard for me to. I mean, once I'm recognized, I'm done. All right, let's keep going here. Likely an Antifa group. Who's putting out the video? Yeah, that's what I want to know. Who's putting out the video? The RGS? Yeah, all right. I don't want to use OBS. All right. I don't want to use another silly system. Don't think they did anything here in Philly. Huh. Surprised. Ganko won. Nice to see you. Likely Iran. Well, that's what that other group. That's that other group that I mentioned earlier is, or that not that I mentioned earlier. Tangerine. What was that group again? Tangerine. CAIR. CAIR. That's who. Yeah, that's who. A lot of people are saying is behind this stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure. All right. Well, this is an article that somebody sent me. This is from the last time they shut down the Golden Gate Bridge for the same thing. This is an article from PW Politics. Is that PW or PM? I can't tell. I think it's PW. PW Politics. And it says San Francisco taxpayers funded the Bay Bridge protests. A look at AROC, the organization that billionaires and the city of San Francisco are paying to stage protests blocking the Bay Bridge. So this is back from January 26, 2024. And so it says it's 10 in the morning and you're on the road, traffic isn't moving, and you stick your head out the window. In the distance, you see an asshole with a sign. Maybe you agree with the sign, maybe not. It doesn't matter, because whatever the sign is asking you to do, end a war, stop a pipeline, legalize this, or criminalize that, is something only a handful of people with power can do. And you know that they can't see the sign from the cruising altitude of their private jets. It's happened in LA, New York, Chicago, at Burning Man, and on Sunday's Bay Bridge, just to list a few examples from 2023. It's almost certain that by the end of 2024, we'll have a new list. How about that? This is a good writer. Who is this person? Who wrote this? River Page. Is that the person's name? River Page. I mean, they got a great writing style too. It just kind of flows. I like this. All right, but why? Shutting down a highway or a bridge is a disruption to everyday life and commerce that conveys a sense of grassroots urgency and desperation. In reality, these events are almost always coordinated by long-standing, well-funded advocacy organizations, many of which are bankrolled by giant billionaire-funded NGOs called donor-advised funds. Essentially, these are tax-exempt organizations that funnel money into donor-chosen causes, allowing donors to take intermediate tax write-offs for the money that can be distributed at a later date. Since money is usually pooled but can be earmarked, donor-advised funds also function to obscure exactly which organization's donors are personally funding. In recent years, donor-advised funds have been behind traffic shutdowns promoting BLM and environmental issues. For example, the 2019 Extinction Rebellion protests that shut down traffic in D.C. were partially funded by the Climate Energy Fund, which has links to many wealthy donors, including members of the Kennedy clan. Very interesting. Of course, climate change is no longer the issue du jour since the outbreak of the Israeli-Hamas war in October. Many traffic shutdowns have been organized by groups funded by Tides. This NGO conglomerate has 6 organizations under its umbrella: the Tides Foundation, the Tides Network, Tides Inc., and Tides Two Rivers Fund. Okay. Collectively, they have assets totaling over $1.4 billion, according to a 2022 internal audit. One of the earliest donor-advised funds, Tides, was created in 1976 by philanthropist Drummond Pike. I've heard that name before. And Jane Bagley Lehman, and the later being heir to R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company fortune. The latter being the heir to the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Corporation. That would be Jane Bagley Lehman. Interesting. In more recent years, it's received millions from extraordinarily wealthy left-wing billionaires such as George Soros. How about that? Who gave the NGO $22 million in 2021. Like most donor-advised funds, the Tides distributes grants to outside organizations. In Tides' case, the money mostly goes to left-wing advocacy groups. For example, the Tides Foundation has donated to Jewish Voice for Peace, the largest progressive Jewish anti-Zionist organization in the world, according to their website, which on November 3rd organized a protest in Durham, North Carolina, that blocked rush hour traffic for 3 hours in support of a ceasefire between Israeli military and Hamas. Of course, Durham residents stuck in traffic that day had about as much power over the Middle Eastern diplomacy as commuters stranded on the Bay Bridge did 2 weeks ago. That protest, which blocked traffic in San Francisco for hours on November 16th, was also organized by an activist outfit funded by Tides, the Arab Resource Organizing Center, AROC. But to call AROC merely Tides funded is an understatement. Although AROC describes itself as one of the handful of grassroots organizations building power in the SWANA Arab community, it's anything but grassroots. Legally, it isn't even an independent nonprofit organization. Instead, it's a fiscally sponsored project of the Tides Center, which essentially means it is legally indistinguishable from Tides. For example, AROC's website compels readers to make out checks to Tides Center, Arab Resource and Organization Center, since AROC isn't a legally distinct organization. The Tides Center isn't legally required to report how much money donors earmarked for it, nor how much it allocates for AROC on a discretionary basis. This legal structure makes AROC's financial black box. This legal structure makes AROC's financials a black box. Interesting. AROC's lack of independence from Tides also makes it impossible to see who has made large donations to AROC, something that prior to the Supreme Court case in 2021, they would have been required to disclose under California state law. However, the recent Pirate Wires investigation has revealed the identity of at least one donor, the San Francisco taxpayer. Oh, okay. And I can't make this larger. I can't read this. This thing is too long. But this is okay, this is piratewires.com/P. I should freaking, you know what? I'm gonna put this in the chat here. Here, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. If you guys want to check this out. I don't know if you can click on stuff in the chat. I can't on my end. But if you guys want to look at this, if you want to look at this chart that they put up here, because I can't see it. So San Francisco City Government, 12/22/23, public records request response. So, yeah, I can't read this chart. But apparently, the San Francisco taxpayer donated a lot of money to this. So that really tells you something, doesn't it? And I mean, San Francisco is notorious for laundering their money through NGOs. The corruption in San Francisco is off the charts. There's so many politicians that get busted for exactly this: laundering money, fraud, wire fraud, embezzlement, all sorts of crap. I just did a thread on this. Well, I read somebody's thread on this about 2 weeks ago on one of my episodes. San Francisco is insanely corrupt when it comes to washing money and funding NGOs, the, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type thing. According to our public records request, since 2016, Tides, which again is already in receipt of over 1.4 billion in assets, has received over 800,000 earmarked for AROC from the city of San Francisco. Though both the mayor's office through both the mayor's office and Housing and Community Development and the Office of Civic Engagement and Immigrant Affairs, the services rendered for these funds run the gamut. Although AROC has received money for ostensibly apolitical projects like census outreach and social services connection, since 2020, it has also received grants totaling over $190,000 for coalition building with Arab serving organizations citywide. This is a drop in the bucket in terms of wasted taxpayer money in San Francisco, to be sure, but it's absurd. An activist group that's legally indistinguishable from an NGO with a $1.4 billion war chest should receive any public money at all. I agree. Okay. San Francisco taxpayers also gave AROC $50,000 in 2020 and $80,000 in 2022 for immigrant assistance. This immigrant assistance, you mean illegal immigrant assistance? Okay. This subsidizes legal services AROC offers to Arab and Muslim immigrants in the Bay Area, according to AROC's profile on the Immigration Advocates Network. Legal services. You guys, do California citizens get legal services? Get money for legal services from the taxpayer? I don't think we do. I mean, I guess we get public defenders if we commit a crime, right? This explicitly includes legal services for individuals who are not legal or are not in legal immigration status. So, illegal immigrants from Arab countries that are getting free legal services from the taxpayer. Okay. I'm not a lawyer, but this sounds a lot like San Francisco taxpayers are helping underwrite legal efforts to stop specifically Arab and Muslim illegal immigrants and criminals from being deported. Huh. Crazy. And the grants AROC received for services. So I wonder why we're seeing like actual Hamas and Hezbollah supporters in the Bay Area. I wonder why we're seeing that. Are they getting funding for legal services so they can't get deported? That kind of thing. Oh, wait, never mind. We're a sanctuary state. We don't deport anyone. We don't cooperate with ICE. We'll get into that later. And the grants AROC received for service connection and case management through the Office of Community Development, which formed the bulk of funds received, also raised questions. Why would the city outsource immigrant and social services for Arab community to a dark money, billionaire-funded, far-left activist organization? The very idea that such services are needed for the Arab community specifically suggests that greater and swifter assimilation is needed. If this is true, AROC is more likely a stumbling block than a solution. Their mission statement, prominently featured in the landing page of their website, is in fact a contemptuous rejection of assimilation. AROC envisions powerful and liberated Arab communities living with freedom and self-determination from the Bay Area to our homelands. We are abolitionists, feminists, and internationalists who believe in the liberation of Swana, Southwest Asian North African people, is inextricably tied to the liberation of all oppressed people. That's from their landing page. From Benedict Arnold to Jonathan Pollard to Omar Mateen, there is nothing more dangerous to national security than an American who sees his homeland in another country. Agreed. That's why it's so weird how we have so many Israel first people. Obviously you have Arab country first people and you have Israeli country first people in our Congress. Why does it always seem like it's America last? Why does it always seem that way? It's not an invasion, guys. It's totally not an invasion, though. Handing over immigrants to a group that emphasizes transcontinental ethnic solidarity is particularly unwise for a group in which the chances of that solidarity being expressed via terrorist attack are uniquely not zero. A second-generation Mexican immigrant who identifies more with people south of the border than his own countrymen is a shame. A second-generation Afghan who identifies more with people of the Middle East than his own countryman is a gunman at an Orlando gay bar. Assimilation always matters for some more than others. Much of that assimilation traditionally happens in public schools, but troublingly, AROC has its fingerprints in the SF education system, too. Currently, AROC contracts with San Francisco School District to provide workshops on leadership and cultural enrichment for Arab and Muslim students. In October, the group was accused of using their presence in several San Francisco public schools to organize a walkout in support of Gaza. A parent group called SF Guardians complained, alleging that the group had broken the rules of its contract by interfering with the students' education, violating privacy laws, by posting pictures of student protesters on its social media accounts, and creating discriminatory environments against student groups by leading from the river to the sea chants that SF Guardians considered anti-Semitic. And that's, man, when we talk about civil war in this country, it might even be a civil war that has nothing to do with Americans. It might just be you got the Zionists and the Arabs just going to war in America, and we're just sitting back like, what's going on? That could happen. While we understand the feelings of despair, confusion, and fear that may be gripping our families, friends, and community, we take this moment as an invitation to recommit ourselves to the revolutionary roots of Palestine liberation, where the struggle to abolish apartheid, Zionism, and fascism in our homeland is one and the same with an international struggle for economic and political democracy, for education and healthcare for all, for the right relations to land, for social justice, gender justice, and climate justice, shaped in the interest of working people. Holy leftist word salad. People, of course, can say whatever they want, but it's difficult to imagine that a group which openly advocates for a similar list of right-wing political demands would be given public grant money and school contracts in San Francisco. And to be sure, there are right-wing activist groups funded by billionaires, as anyone who has heard anything liberals had to say about the Koch brothers during the 2010s surely knows. But to their credit, you never hear about right-wing astroturfed organizations blocking roads, probably because they recognize how bad it is for public opinion. I doubt anyone stuck for hours on the Bay Bridge came home more sympathetic to the plight of the Palestinian people, or knew that through their taxpayer dollars, they themselves were the ones paying to be dangerously inconvenienced. In addition to commuters, the protests held held up an ambulance and other first responders for hours. If they did, perhaps the money from far left-wing billionaires and San Francisco taxpayers would dry up, and Mossad would have to pick up the slack. River Page. Featured image by Steve Rhodes. This writer is a good writer. River Page. This is, man, piratewires.com. I got to check this guy out. I'm going to write this down. Sorry. Sorry, this guy's good. This guy's a good writer. All right. Thanks. I hope it does too. Okay, so somebody commented. I'm gonna read the comment. This is a comment from Chris Kaufman. Great article that makes lots of important connections. Donor advised funds are one of the worst structures ever invented by our corrupt tax system. Yeah. Not only do they shield $1 trillion from being taxed, they have further empowered the already excessively influential centimillionaire and billionaire classes to totally hijack what's left of American democracy. This article is an excellent first peek under the sheets. I should say under the hood, under the sheets. That sounds bad. Of a vast subject that would shock and outrage average Americans if they understood the scale of the abuse. Only the wealthy themselves, the government, and a tiny group of trust lawyers, tax accountants, and other specialists who feed off the bonanza know anything about door-advised trust. I'm glad you figured it out too, and I hope the article triggers an avalanche of reporting. Yeah, you guys check out this article. Well, I mean, I just read it, but go look at that chart that's in the article. This is really well written. Cristobal, another absolute banger from River this week. Huh. Yeah, I've never heard of this writer, but this is, I mean, not only is it it's great information, he just writes really well. Like he's really easy to read. Sorry, I like writing and I appreciate good writers. Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. So let me check in the chat really quick. All right. Oh man, you guys have been busy over here. Yes, the RGS. Thank you. Hit that thumbs up button if you guys get a chance. Give the video a like. If you're watching over there on Twitter, reposts always help. Leave a comment. If you guys want to contribute to the show, there's links in my bio. There's links in the show notes. And I have a fundraiser set up. This is it. GiveSend, www.givesend.com/GACW6. If you guys want to contribute, I will have a merch store set up soon, website set up soon, hopefully subscription set up soon, all that kind of stuff. So, all right, we'll keep going. I wouldn't put it past the CIA to fund Islamic activism. I wouldn't put anything past the CIA at this point. Tim Holiday TV, thanks for the reminder, the RGS. Within our lifetime, someone on Twitter says, "This is who." I don't know anything about this group. Within our lifetime. Some group called Within Our Lifetime. Cool. Thanks, Terry. Ted Greenshine. Thanks, friend. Tides is an evil globalist bullshit. I've never heard of them. I live in a small city in Wisconsin. Our population is 60 to 70,000. We have 2 people on our city council who worked for Tides in college. Oh, no shit. Okay. Crazy. All right. Okay. Never heard of Tides. Never heard of Tides till tonight. Sorry. All right. Let's keep going here. Okay. So they did mention George Soros in this article, didn't they? So I clipped some things from 2 different James Lindsay podcasts today. I listened to every single one of James Lindsay's podcasts. I listened to every single podcast that he goes on. I am a huge fan of James Lindsay. Very big fan of James Lindsay. I don't care if you guys like him or not. I am a huge fan. He does these little bullets episodes, but he has a great way of explaining the whole your action, something along the lines of like your reaction is the action that they are seeking, something along those lines. And it's because it doesn't, you know how they talk about the pendulum's going to swing back in the other direction? Like, you know, the pendulum's obviously to the left now, and people are saying if the pendulum's swinging back to the right, But people worry that the left has gone so far that it's going to swing so far to the right that the right is going to seek a strong man, is going to seek like a king and become very authoritarian, that type of thing. Well, the left doesn't care. The left doesn't care if we become authoritarian. They, in fact, want to break the system. They want to throw the Constitution out the window. So even if it becomes authoritarian on the right, the left is fine because they know the pendulum will ultimately swing back to the left as well. And then, boom, free speech laws are out the window. Boom, the guns are gone. Constitution gone. All that kind of thing. So James is explaining how it's not just a pendulum swinging. It's, imagine a pendulum swinging, but it's sliding down a string towards authoritarianism. It doesn't matter which way that pendulum swings as long as it ends at authoritarianism. That's the ultimate goal. So that's kind of what he explains here in this bullet podcast that he has here. Hopefully I get the audio on this.
As the momentum against the woke.
See, for some reason I have the audio on this one. I don't get it. All right. Well, okay. This is about 2.5 minutes. We're going to listen to the whole thing.
As the momentum against the woke increases, it will be a real risk. It will be a real challenge to prevent us getting carried away with ourselves, getting caught up by a charismatic leader, especially if we get to the point where it seems very dangerous and very desperate and the pendulum swinging in kind of that classic sense. But I want you to understand that not only does that advantage the other side because they just need the constitutional system that we have destroyed. They don't care whether it gets destroyed from left or right or both at the same time. They just need our system destroyed. But I want to talk more about how they use the pendulum swing so that it's not so naive. In fact, the relevant way to put it is that it's not so one-dimensional because they are operating in a multidimensional space and they're playing people very successfully. You've heard the other podcasts like your reaction is their real action, which is one of their principles. And that's actually based off of this principle of polarity that goes behind the scenes on almost all of their strategizing. And this pendulum swinging thing is actually more subtle than that. So unlike what I normally do, this podcast, if you are listening to it, you're missing out a little bit because I have to describe not just a picture, but an animation, which I'll try to do. But I'm going to actually on YouTube or, whatever other video platforms, Rumble and so on, I want this animation to be visible to you. So I'm going to try to present it that way to you, unlike my usual presentations, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Because when you think of the pendulum swinging, you're thinking it's swinging back and forth, back.
All right, I'm gonna pause it there because I want to talk to you about that, Tangerine. So this is why James is incorrect in attacking nationalism. A shift of Republicans to a populist nationalist platform stops the pendulum swinging. Well, wouldn't you argue that is? Well, some people would argue that is the pendulum swinging, a switch to a populist nationalist platform. They would, because then you have to define terms. What does it mean to be nationalist? And then you have to define, like, what does our nation stand for? What does America stand for? No, I don't agree there. Like, how do you have to elaborate on that one a little bit, dude. A new political platform totally neuters the two-party system they crafted. Well, yeah, but I mean, what are you asking for? Like a new party? Like we got the two-party system. This sounds a lot to me like libertarianism just hasn't been done right yet, or communism just hasn't been done right yet. It's like it's two sides of the same coin. Yeah, I'm not sure there. Wally World, tall size t-shirts. Absolutely. I do have tall size t-shirts. That will be a thing. All right, let's keep going with this video. No anti-war Republicans. Yeah, libertarians. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I'd like to actually talk to you about this to see what you mean, because I feel like this is very utopia sounding, very pie in the sky type stuff, but I could be wrong.
Back and forth. So the left pushes the pendulum really hard to the left, and then it's going to swing back and hit them when it comes back. That is not how they do. That is not how the pendulum works. It's more complicated than that. It is multidimensional. So You can picture the pendulum swinging back and forth. If you push a pendulum bob, that's what it's called, the bob, it will swing away and it will come back, and minus a little bit of the energy loss due to friction, it will come back roughly to the same spot that it was released from. In an ideal frictionless system, it would come back exactly to the spot that it was released from. Okay. Now I want you to picture that the thing that this pendulum bob is attached to is moving. So the pendulum swinging side to side, left to right. But meanwhile, the entire apparatus is moving forward. We'll say at a constant speed. I know.
Okay. You guys see what you're saying there? So it's not just the pendulum swinging back and forth. That sort of doesn't even really matter, because I guess it's what, if it's sliding down a string, the pendulum that's swinging, if it's sliding down a string, I guess it depends on what's the other end of that string is tied to. I mean, maybe that's what you're trying to explain there, Tangerine, is if that's tied to nationalism, then I guess it doesn't really matter. But the thing is, it seems much more likely to be tied to authoritarianism. That's the way I see it anyway. Northside, if I was in charge, it would be different. You being sarcastic there, Tangerine. It's risky business, but great minds like Steve Bannon can do a much better job of articulating this idea. All right. I mean, I've listened to a lot of Bannon talk. I'll give him a shot, but all right. We'll keep going. Here. So I got one more James Lindsay clip that I want to play, because this is from a 3-hour podcast that he did explaining George Soros's book, which I now want to read, even though it's really boring, apparently. But this sort of explains why George Soros is such a chaos agent. So George Soros made like the vast majority of his money shorting markets, and he would use his money to sort of leverage that short. If you take a short position on something and you start attacking that thing to make it ultimately fail. Well, what if George Soros is shorting America? Like, George Soros considers himself a god. He's openly said that he considers himself a god, and he has enough money to affect entire nations. And I mean, Elon Musk has said it out loud that he thinks George Soros hates humanity. I don't think he necessarily hates humanity. I think he hates America. I think he hates everything that America stands for, and he wants to collapse America. And he wants to do that using the mechanism of chaos. And that's why it's so easy to identify George Soros DAs in how they just release violent criminals, refuse to prosecute violent criminals, refuse to prosecute pretty much anything. And you can see that before you even realize they're a George Soros DA. You're like, hey, wait a minute, you're behaving like a George Soros DA. And then you look into it and it's like, yeah, sure enough, George Soros got them elected. And that's his whole strategy too. Instead of trying to buy like high-level politicians like presidents and governors, instead of trying to spend so much money on them, you get a much better return on your investment buying off or funding local DAs, local judges, that kind of thing. And you get a much more bang for your buck. So that's sort of the idea, that George Soros is intentionally trying to collapse all fundamental institutions in America. So a lot of people think that George Soros is behind everything: the open border, the DAs, just everything that is an attack, the crap in schools, the attack on kids, the trans agenda that is really Marxism, all of this stuff. It's all meant to attack all fundamental institutions that are vital for the stability of America. That's sort of the idea behind why George Soros does what he does. So this is a 5-minute clip from James Lindsay, but yeah, I think it's important. Let's listen to this. I'll let it play all the way through.
George Soros believes that history is made during chaotic times. He calls those periods of time historical periods. And so history is actually made during chaos. The reason history is made during chaos is because in chaotic conditions, people will move a long way. Basically, he says there are two types of conditions. There are close to equilibrium conditions, and there are far from equilibrium conditions. Chaos is far from equilibrium, and a stable situation is close to equilibrium. So the characterization of equilibrium in general is that when you have equilibrium and you perturb the system, that's the technical terminology for it, a system that has at least what's called stable equilibrium will come back toward the equilibrium state. So if you have something that's balanced and it's got a stable equilibrium situation, say a ball at the bottom of a bowl, and you push the ball off to the side, you perturb the system, it will roll up the side of the bowl and it will come back down and it will come back to the equilibrium position. That's called a stable equilibrium. If you have the bowl upside down and set it on top, however, that's an unstable equilibrium. And if you perturb it, the definition of an unstable equilibrium is when you perturb a system, it's a stable equilibrium system if it moves back toward the equilibrium, and it is an unstable equilibrium system if it moves away from the equilibrium. In fact, you can imagine the ball either inside the bowl, that's stable equilibrium, and an unstable equilibrium, you can imagine a ball balanced exactly on top of the bowl, and if you touch it a little bit, it's going to roll off.
What up, B Sizzo? Thanks for joining, man.
Because it's going to start rolling downhill. Okay. The idea, though, is that chaotic conditions are a little bit different. Dynamic systems are a little different than stable and unstable equilibrium, but historical change for George Soros occurs during chaotic conditions, which means that you can't necessarily predict what's going to happen next. Now, George Soros has a very peculiar belief, which is that, in fact, history moves according to people's misperceptions of what's going on. That's very peculiar. But this gives us enough insight to give the quick summary of what his deal is. If you have a society and you want to move it to a new system, what you might call meta system change, or just system change, but usually we want something even bigger, meta system change, a complete reorganization of the way that we think about our society. The societal paradigm has to shift completely. It's not just that you replace, say, Democrats with Republicans or something like this. It would be a system change. It's a complete revamping of how we think about the organization of society. If you want to do that, Soros believes it happens in disequilibrium conditions, and in fact, chaotic conditions. The reason is because it moves according to people's misperceptions. And so, because it moves according to people's misperceptions, they're desperate to make sense of their chaotic world, and they will follow whatever guideposts seem to make sense that are put in front of them.
So if you create enough chaos, if you make the world insane enough, you can get people to buy into a certain narrative. You can get people to buy into a solution that's not really a solution. You can get people to eat up your propaganda. Maybe that's why we see so many people willing to chop their kids' tits off now. That's gender affirming care. That's going to solve all your kids' problems. We just need to mutilate your child, and then your kid won't have suicidal thoughts anymore. Just maybe.
In other words, when there are chaotic conditions, people are easy to propagandize. You can tell them where you want them to go, and if you can kind of make the case for them, they'll go there, and you can get the desired change, which we will later discover the phrase that Soros uses for that is operational success. Well, what if your society is not in chaos? Well, if you want to make historical change, the first thing you have to do is you have to perturb it and perturb it and perturb it and perturb it until it's in chaos. So when you look at the cities, why do Soros DAs refuse to prosecute crime and they tend to do all these things? Because it creates chaos. And chaotic conditions require people to look for signposts or guideposts to get through it, and you can guide them to where you want. In other words, you can create a new you could change toward a desired state of affairs by pushing a stable system into chaotic instability and then telling people, basically propagandizing people into believing that this is the way out of the chaos.
Kind of like the border bill, right? Well, I don't like it when people say right, like they're getting people to agree with what they're saying. But we got the wide open border right now. It's become wide open since Biden got into office, got rid of a bunch of Trump's policies, including the Remain in Mexico policy. And then they say, well, we got this border bill with a bunch of money that's going to go to Ukraine. And that's all we need to fix the problem, is to throw more money at it. And then when you actually look into the border bill, it doesn't do anything to close the border. It doesn't do anything to stop people from coming here. All it does is gives more money to border patrol agents, human trafficking agents, to process people coming into the country. That's all it does. And then they get to say, look, the Republicans are going against the border bill. Now the border's wide open because of Republicans. It's maddening.
Which sounds very much like the dialectical approach of create a problem, utilize the reaction to get to a predetermined solution on the other side, because in fact, Soros, in his own words, says his method is dialectical. So here's the short version of George Soros. Take a society that's doing okay, whether through agitating their cities with crime, nullifying their borders, overwhelming their system through immigration, whatever, the things that he funds, dumping identity politics into the situation, funding a lot of that. Take a system that's stable, destabilize it until it breaks into a chaotic situation. In the process, make sure that you point the arrow of the chaos roughly in the direction you want things to go, and then start laying down propaganda pieces that are going to take society in the direction that you want it to come out of the chaos into a new system. That's why Soros does what he does. Why does Soros fund these DAs? Why does he fund the border stuff? Why does he fund critical race theory? Why does he do it? Because it destabilizes the American system, pushes it into a state of chaos, and in the state of chaos, people are easily propagandized to take to a system change or meta system change according to his goals.
Make sense? You guys with me? Or say you guys with James? It makes sense of all the chaos and what's happening. You guys buying it? What do you guys think? Tangerine. James also refused to acknowledge the information in the movie Obama Deception, created by Alex Jones. Jones shows that Obama wore a communist mask while working exclusively for Wall Street behind closed doors. James won't acknowledge any of Obama's Wall Street dealings. What do you mean? Like, I'm not following. I don't know if James is saying that's, but I mean, to me, he would seem to agree with Obama being a Marxist. I've heard him talk about Obama being a secret Marxist, and everything he does seems to be anti-America. I feel like you might be misreading James. I don't know. I don't know there, Tangerine. Very curious, but yeah, I don't know. I'd like to have a conversation with you about this. All right, let's keep going here. We're pretty much out of the whole protests of today and me trying to attribute that to being George Soros being a chaos agent. But I'd be willing to bet, if you followed some of this money, that a lot of these protests that you saw today, a lot of this highly organized stuff would trace back to the Open Society Foundation and any other organizations that George Soros happens to run, because it had his smell all over it. It went so well with what we saw during the Black Lives Matter protests, with the climate protests, all that kind of stuff. It smells like George Soros. I could be wrong entirely, but I tend to butt heads with him on most points. Why? Man, I'm a huge James Lindsay fan. He makes a ton of sense to me. And even when I think that I'm disagreeing with him, when he explains his reasoning behind it, I usually am like, damn it. Yeah, I think I was wrong about that. He's just, James is brilliant. He is a truly brilliant individual. All right, let's keep going here, because we're sort of done with the George Soros. Well, we're kind of not really, because this sort of transitions into my California stuff that I want to talk about, the border stuff that I want to talk about. But I talk about this clip all the time, and I pulled it up for this episode. I've played it on probably 3 or 4 different episodes. But this is... Sorry, you guys... Okay, good. This is Chesa Boudin. This is the former district attorney of San Francisco before he got recalled, and Brooke Jenkins replaced him. And San Francisco is sort of the George Soros utopia, if you will. It's they don't just talking about it. They don't prosecute crime. Retail theft is running rampant. Drug dealers can operate with impunity. Even if they get arrested, judges and formerly Chesa Boudin would just release them without charges. Even if they got busted with drugs, a scale, money, all that stuff, they just get released. And then not only are you allowed to consume drugs on the streets, you're actively encouraged to. You will be given fentanyl needles, you'll be given crack pipes, you'll be given cookers, the things to tie your arm off. They even fund what they call safe, what do they call them? Safe injection sites. That was an experiment that Dean Preston was championing, the millionaire Dean Preston, the champagne socialist. That's what he was championing. I wonder if he gets money from George Soros. But anyway, San Francisco is sort of the epitome of what George Soros is trying to accomplish with the society. It's completely collapsed. Granted, San Francisco is still beautiful. Like the area I was in the last 2 days, still beautiful. The marina, still beautiful. The Presidio, Pacific Heights, all that stuff, still beautiful. But south of Market, the Tenderloin, other pockets, the financial district, they are creeping into all those other areas. And, you got the whole anarcho-tyranny situation where you can camp out in a parking spot, pitch a tent there, build a pallet fort. And it's it'll have a parking meter there and everything, but you can, as long as you're camping out and being homeless and doing drugs, you're fine. But if you park your car in front of that in a metered spot and your meter expires, you'll get a ticket. Anarcho-tyranny, that kind of thing. Well, Chesa Boudin was like the ultimate Soros DA. He was the ultimate example because he wouldn't prosecute Honduran fentanyl dealers. So a lot of the drug dealers in San Francisco, he even says in this video, maybe even half of them are illegal immigrants from Honduras. I talk about this like every episode. So not only are they not supposed to be here at all, but they're allowed to deal drugs and operate with impunity. And California's sanctuary state policies makes it so even if the cops wanted to be like, hey, ICE, we just arrested this dude for dealing fentanyl. Like, we got him on video selling fentanyl. We got the transaction. Can you guys deport him? Cops aren't allowed to do that. They're not allowed to cooperate with ICE. And we'll get into that after this. But I want you to hear Chesa Boudin explaining why they just have to allow fentanyl dealers to deal drugs on the streets of San Francisco. That's what he essentially says in this video. So it's about a minute and a half. Just listen to this whole thing. It's maddening what he says here.
But we need to also recognize that a significant percentage of people selling drugs in San Francisco, perhaps as many as half, are here from Honduras. And many of them have been trafficked from Honduras. And we need to be mindful about the impact our interventions have and about how those interventions can be effective. Some of these young men have been trafficked here under pain of death. Some of them have had family members who have been in Honduras who have been or will be harmed if they don't continue to pay off the traffickers that brought them here. These are not idle threats. I can tell you from a young Honduran man who I personally represented when I was a public defender, who was accused of selling drugs and who was guilty of selling drugs and who eventually pled guilty to what he was accused of, that when he cooperated years before I met him, when he cooperated with federal authorities in a different state, his father in Honduras was killed in retaliation. These are not idle threats, and we do not have the power to protect people in Honduras from these.
So, what does that sound like he's saying to you guys there? Yeah, if we arrest them and we try to get information out of them, see who they're connected to, the cartel members will harm their families in the States, which is bullshit. They say that they're trafficked here. He's saying that they're trafficked here against their will. Yeah, right. There's like there's this account on X called Tenderloin Tube. There's people that document who these fentanyl dealers are. They document them. They have nicknames for them like Backpack Girl, Scooter Guy, Hoodie Guy. They got nicknames for them. And they're always covering their face. But They make stacks of cash. Yeah, they got to kick up to their cartel bosses, but they make stacks of cash. They're all dressed nice. They don't have a care in the world. These are not people that were trafficked here against their will. These are cartel members. These are the street level cartel people that are probably trying to work their way up in the cartels. They're not worried about their family being hurt if they, if they got arrested and cooperated. That's probably what he's talking about there. He's the client, or he was a public defender, and one of his clients got arrested for dealing drugs, and to avoid a stiffer sentence, he probably narked some people out and said he was working for, and that got his family harmed. If dude would have just shut up, did his time, the cartel probably wouldn't have touched his family. I mean, come on. It's how these organized crime people work. Chesa Boudin's trying to say, no, it's because we arrested them, so we got to just let them deal drugs on the street. That's what he's saying here. That's what he's saying in this video. He's saying, like, that's why we release them. That's why it's catch and release with fentanyl dealers.
These trafficking organizations. Solving the crisis we see in the Tenderloin is not and will never be as simple as making more arrests, prosecuting more cases, sending more people to jail or prison. It will never be an effective deterrent to send someone to prison for a couple of years if they know that their other alternative of cooperation with us or of not paying traffickers will result in their father or their wife or their child getting killed. So we.
Yeah, okay, don't put them in prison. Deport them. Deport them. You can't control what cartel members are going to do to somebody's family. What is he saying here? He's saying we just have to let them deal drugs on our streets, right? What else is he saying here? This dude's out of his freaking mind. So that's why he got recalled. But there's plenty of other DAs that are just like that. Pete Grabber, nice to see you. Cali Girl, God, I hate him so much. Yeah, I know, me too. About as much as I hate Newsom. These people are criminals, and our politicians are criminals too. Yep, 100%. You know, he's teaching at Berkeley now. These people are disgusting. They're literally destroying everything. Well, that's Chesa Boudin, and there's Pamela Price right across the bay for Alameda County doing the same thing, if not worse. It's not as much of a fentanyl epidemic problem over there. Over there, it's a crime epidemic. Violent criminals just being let off. It's chaos agents. It's George Soros got them into office, and they're chaos agents. Keep going here. So here's what I was talking about. Here's from Tenderloin Tube. We'll go. So these are pictures. So he says this is one of the head guys. This is one of the head hondos. So you see, they all cover their face. They ride around in scooters. They got their backpacks on. People drive up, and he gets them on video selling drugs. I think he's got an apartment like right there. Got this dude's face. So he's wearing a backpack. They know who the dealers are. And so so look, he's got a mid deal. He's got the bag in his hand right here. This guy's on the lookout. So doing a drug deal. And you got this guy over here also on the lookout, covering his face. This super shady shit. If the locals know who they are, guaranteed the cops know who they are. So that's why in Santa Cruz, I'm always like, that's a dealer. I can tell who the dealers are. They're walking around in a backpack with a mask on, and you'll see them dropping the mask down with their nose. Their mask is always all dirty and nasty. It's not like they're not wearing an N95. They're wearing a mask to conceal their identity. You can tell who the dealers are. And if I could figure it out, bet your ass the cops that are trained to spot like narcotics officers, bet your ass they know who they are. They could clean this up so fast if they'll never completely get rid of the problem, but they could sure as hell make it better. They can sure as hell make it so you're not allowed to shoot up on the streets anymore. You know what? We're going to stop handing out fentanyl needles. You know what? We're going to stop handing out crack pipes. All this stuff. We're going to stop safe consumption sites. We're going to go back to the shit that worked before. We've done this before. We've had a much better, cleaner, safer San Francisco in the past. I know, because I grew up in it. It's keep going here. So let's go to Alex Mickelson. I played this a couple of nights ago. Might even have been last night. I think it was the night before. Yeah, I think it was Friday actually. And this dude talks about sanctuary state policies. So you got, the Soros DAs, and then on top of that, you've got corrupt politicians like Gavin Newsom, corrupt governors, corrupt assembly members, corrupt state senators that are going to go along with sanctuary state policies. And one of California's sanctuary state policies is we don't deport people. That's what makes it a sanctuary. Even if you're a violent criminal, you don't get deported. You have to be convicted of a crime. So even if you got caught, like everybody knows this person did it. Everybody knows this person robbed the old man, broke his legs, and stole his car. Illegal immigrant. You know he's an illegal immigrant. You know he broke the man's legs. You know he stole the car. Released by the Soros DA, and they're not allowed, and the cops aren't allowed to cooperate with ICE. Two-pronged thing. You got the Soros DAs that release violent criminals, and then you got the California sanctuary state policies that make it illegal for local cops to cooperate with ICE. Two-pronged thing. More chaos agents.
Went along with ICE here in Los Angeles. What did you see?
So they had a targeted operation where they were going after drug traffickers. So they developed intel on 3 convicted felons, all convicted of felony drug trafficking, who are out in the community here in Los Angeles. LA is a sanctuary city, so the locals don't work with the feds. So ICE went out, arrested all 3 of them. Some had violent.
All of California is a sanctuary state. It's not just LA is a sanctuary city. All of California is a sanctuary state.
Histories as well. Some had been deported multiple times. All had been released from custody without any notice to ICE. So ICE says, look, we're only going to go after the bad apples. We're not going after kids at school or grandmas in hospitals. We're going to go after convicted felons. So they picked up 3 of them and got them off the streets here.
And talk more about that when it comes to the sanctuary policy. How is that different than, say, in a different city?
So essentially, someone who is in the U.S. illegally commits a crime and gets convicted of a felony. Eventually, they got to get let out of jail or let out of prison. In a sanctuary jurisdiction, the locals will not notify ICE that, hey, this convicted child molester is going to be let out of jail. You might want to come get him. Or ICE will file what's called a detainer request, which is the Fed saying, hey, locals, can you please hold on to this guy for 48 hours so we can get agents there to take him into custody? The locals, if they're a sanctuary jurisdiction, they will not cooperate. They'll just release him to the streets.
And it's not because they don't want to cooperate. They're not allowed to. California government has handcuffed cops to make it so they can't tell ICE, hey, you got this violent child rapist that's going to be at the end of his sentence. Can you come pick him up? And then if ICE says, hey, we know this guy is a violent criminal, he's done stuff in other states, can you hold on to him for us? Or can you detain him or whatever? Nope, not going to do it. We're not going to cooperate with the feds.
Boston, also a sanctuary jurisdiction. You went out with ICE there. Here's some of that.
How are you guys not notified about a child rapist being released? Unfortunately, in Massachusetts, that's how it is with most of these sanctuary jurisdictions.
So similar problem there. What did you see on the streets of Boston?
It's actually a way worse problem in Boston. Their sanctuary policies are way more significant than here in LA. It was a jaw dropper. In one single morning when I was with ICE in Boston, they arrested 4 alleged child rapists and a violent MS-13 gang member, all in just a few hours. And every single one of them had been released from local custody. They did not honor ICE's detainer request. They were just put back out into the community, and ICE had to go find them. Child rapists.
Can you guys believe this shit? Like, when you say it out loud and talk about it, and so couple that with the Soros DAs that don't prosecute and release people, it's insane. Sanctuary state policies coupled with Soros DAs is a match made in hell. It's freaking banana balls. It's absolutely bonkers. Tim Holiday, I recognize the dealers in Gilroy. Yeah, I bet. Like I've said, and we're not talking about dealers like yesterday. I was in Pacific Heights. No, I'm sorry, not Pacific Heights. I was in the Haight and Ashbury. I was in the Haight and Ashbury district, the notorious hippie It's where the Grateful Dead used to live. I mean, notorious, just drug town, but not drugs like you think of today. So I had a dude walk by me yesterday that said shrooms, doses, selling shrooms and doses. Well, I mean, acid. That's acid for you guys that don't know what doses are. Somebody that's selling acid and mushrooms, the dude probably wasn't carrying a gun. He probably is nonviolent, and the drugs that he's selling, you don't see too many people taking acid or taking mushrooms and going out and committing violent crime. So that used to be San Francisco is known as a drug town, but it was a peaceful drug town. At least you got a bunch of stoners all, on acid and mushrooms and shit, but you don't compare that to what you get in the Tenderloin with fentanyl and rotting flesh and limbs falling off, being amputated. Which would you prefer? So that's what sanctuary state policies and George Soros DAs do. They create the Tenderloin, and then San Francisco being the way it was back in the day, you'd have Haight Ashbury. So it's two different worlds, two completely different worlds. All right, let's keep going here. All right, let's go over to California Insider. I met with this gentleman today, and we might be doing some stuff in the future. I had a meeting with him today, and yeah, good dude. Very, very cool. Very nice guy. He's going to be, I put him in contact with Tracy Henderson from the California Parents Union, my friend now that went on Tucker Carlson with me. She will be doing an interview with him very soon. She's going to go out to Orange County, and yeah, I might be doing some stuff with California Insider soon. We'll see. We'll see how things go. They may not want to associate themselves with me. I wouldn't want to associate myself with me. Does that make any sense? Okay, let's talk about the California border, because the California border is insane. I think California border is more insane than Texas, and we're the only state that has a border that you can drive a boat into. We're right up against the coast. Only thing separating is a little fence that goes out maybe 50 feet into the water in San Diego. So, we don't just have a border fence and a border wall and all that crap to deal with. We got the ocean. So it's a little bit different dynamic, but this is a gentleman that owns a gun shop that lives in San Diego, and he's been seeing some shit. So let's listen to this guy talk.
Corey, you live on the border. What do you see? What's happening?
I constantly see these white buses coming down, and the buses are full of illegal immigrants that are coming here claiming asylum, not through the port of entry. They're coming through the fence, cutting the fence, around the fence, over the fence. So I went out there one day, and there was like 200 people standing there, and they had tents. There were fires going. I was blown away.
Did you talk to these people?
I've found documents giving them exact instructions. So that's where things kind of turned for me on. This is a very regimented, professional operation. Who's doing it?
My guest today is Corey Goturo. He's a resident at the border in San Diego. Over the last year, we've been covering the situation at the border around San Diego area. There's been a lot of border crossings. Corey has been documenting what's happening around the border, and he's here to tell us his story.
I talked to a Venezuelan gentleman, and I said, "Why are you coming across?" And he explained to me that in Venezuela, on their own media and radio, they're talking about how easy it is to come to the United States right now. This isn't a political issue for me. This is something's not right.
All right, and then you see a lot of people, and not just in California, in other border states that are talking about, yeah, these people have like detailed instructions on how to get here, and step by step. And a lot of them, it looks like they got brand new clothes on. They were just dropped off. Similar to the protests that you see, this is a very well-funded, well-organized thing that's going on. A lot of it's run by the UN. People are given very detailed instructions on how to get here. So who's behind all this, and what's the ultimate goal? More chaos agents. Got one more clip from that episode that I want to play. You guys should watch this episode. Here, I'm not going to put it in the chat. It's if you go to I shared the YouTube video. Just go to California Insider. It's one of their, actually follow them on Twitter, California Insider. It's their pinned post. This interview is their top one. This interview just happened. So let's go to one more clip, and yeah, it's another 1 minute clip, but listen to this whole thing. This whole interview is mind blowing.
A lot of times they would put the women and children first, and the Border Patrol does that anyway. But they were the spokespeople for the group, so it was very regimented. When I say that, very few times would a group come across, a big group, and then another group would come across. It wasn't like that at all. A group would come across, they'd get settled, and then the vans or buses would pick them up, so most of them would leave. Then the next group would come across. So the people in the South that are running this seem to know that if they overwhelm the Border Patrol, that might get it shut down.
So what does that tell you? So they get a big group of people, and it's like they're sending groups of people, but they're timing it so they're not overwhelming the Border Patrol, because that might draw too much attention. So again, very well organized, very well funded, nefarious things happening. There's a very well organized and orchestrated structure system to this, and this opens up the door for all sorts of problems. Obviously, you've got human trafficking, you've got drug smuggling, and then you've got potential terrorists or people that want to do harm to America coming across the border. You even have foreign, like, active soldiers coming over, setting up cells. I don't need to explain to you guys how bad of a situation this is and how much of a threat to national security this is. And then you've got California sanctuary state policies like health insurance, will give you housing, legal services, all the things that California taxpayers are paying for and aren't eligible for. It's just the incentive programs. It's the whole situation is absolutely insane. Like, anybody, the more you look into this, the more your brain breaks, because it's you can't, if you're in California government, you can't know this stuff isn't going on. And if you're Gavin Newsom, you obviously know this stuff's going on, and you're making it worse and you're incentivizing it. What are you getting on the return here? This is it makes you look at Gavin Newsom like not just the scumbag that he is, but holy crap, are you like a human trafficking kingpin, a drug smuggling kingpin? Are you working with terrorists? Are you working with cartels? Like, that's the implications here. This shit is insane. This shit is absolutely insane, you guys.
So you think this is pretty organized?
Very.
The way it comes and the people come and they get picked up. We actually had...
And the buses too. He talks about the buses all over the place. The buses just... This isn't like small amounts of people coming across our border. We are being flooded every single day, especially here in California.
Jim Desmond on the show about the drop-off locations, because we know that they're getting dropped off in San Diego and other places.
They're getting dropped off all over. The airport is another one. There's hotels throughout the county that they're being dropped off at. And then Jim and Bill, Jim Desmond and Bill Wells have spoken about the trolley stops that they could be dropped off at.
So it's insane, you guys. It's freaking insane. The whole situation's just out of control. It's absolutely insane. And this is from a couple of days ago. This is, I mean, so it's not just coming through the fence or the border wall or whatever you want to call it. We have the ocean. So now you're seeing, this is becoming much more common. You're seeing these boats come in, flying towards the coast super fast, and they just run right up onto the shore, and everybody jumps out of the boats and they just abandon the boat. And you see multiple situations like this. Yeah, I got 2 clips pulled up of the exact same thing. I played both these last episode, but I'm going to play them again just because not only is it the boats that are showing up, but they got people waiting for them. So they run out of the boat, they run into the town, and then there's cars waiting for them. Again, very well funded, very well organized. Chaos agents. Jeez. All right. I think last time I counted like between 18 and 22 guys on this little boat. Right in front of the lifeguards, like no, not a care in the world. And to put it in perspective, like look at Israel. Look if anybody comes near that fence in Israel, they're getting shot. Other countries, you try to come into their border, you're getting shot. Look what we're doing. We're giving them health care. I mean, at least they're giving us free boats, right? So this guy's got a beach house in San Diego or Carlsbad or wherever this is. And he's just like, holy crap. All right. So he's out on his deck and he runs through his house and runs out to his street. It's like, where are all these fuckers going?
Yeah.
This is a big ass house. This dude's rich. And there they all are. They got a car waiting for them, and they're all piling into the car like a freaking clown car. They got, 15 people climbing into an SUV. And you got the leftover guys that are like, oh, crap, there's only one car. What do we do now? Let's just run into town and blend in. Unbelievable. Let's look at one more of those situations. You got this one. It's pretty much the same exact situation. Like exact situation. Don't worry, guys. It's just a lifeguard. It's not a real cop. They're not actually going to do anything.
Man, dude, they got kids with them too.
I didn't know. Oh my God, there's a child.
It's crazy. I mean, if I were there, I'd be going in. I'd be screw the boats. I'd be going and grabbing those motors off the boats. I don't know why they zoomed in on those barrels. I don't know what those barrels are for. But that's what you got. I mean, it's not just the border wall that California has to contend with. We got the freaking ocean. So we're getting attacked by land and sea. And I mean, hell, I'm sure they're getting flown in too. So that's what you got. That's what you got here, folks. It's madness. It's absolute madness. All right, let's keep going here. Let's go over to I meme, therefore I am. All right, so that's about it with the chaos agent type stuff. But I mean, kinda, but I would speculate that this guy here. This is a post for I meme, therefore I am. It says Mary Klein, 54, was walking near her home late in the evening. Mary Klein, 54, was walking near her home late in the evening when a man suddenly ambushed her from behind near the famed Venice canals in LA. Mary described how the sheer force of the impact left her instantly disoriented. She recalls tumbling to the ground and enduring a barrage of blows to her head and face, and the assailant repeatedly struck her. I think he was trying to kill me, Mary said. It was like being hit by a truck. Mary sustained several injuries with the vicious assault, including fractures to her jaw, broken teeth, a significant gash on the back of her head, and numerous contusions. Her face and chest exhibit severe bruising and swelling, and she anticipates a lengthy journey to recovery. Mary was one of 2 women who were attacked and sexually assaulted along the Venice canals on April 6th. A second woman who was not yet identified is currently in a coma. The suspect of these 2 attacks, Anthony Jones, 29, was apprehended and arrested. He had so many typos in this, but I would be willing to bet that this guy was arrested and released before. I bet you this guy's got a rap sheet and he was let go because California doesn't prosecute crimes. So this is the before and after. So down here on the bottom right is what she looked like before this beating. Look at her face. Like, she's lucky to be alive with how, like, the bruising's only going to get worse. When the swelling goes down, you're going to see her face is just going to be black and blue all over. Look how swollen her face is. Sure, she can't even move her face when she's talking. He must have just been beating her face. It's unbelievable. She's lucky that she's alive. And the other lady that got attacked by this same man is in a coma. And I'd be curious to know, was he previously released by our soft on crime judges? And is he here legally? Those would be the 2 questions that I would ask right off the bat. You have to wonder. It doesn't say in this, but I'll keep looking. I'll find out.
And then all of a sudden, I'm in the canals, and all of a sudden, I just get knocked out.
Was it from behind?
I have no idea. My teeth got knocked out. I had 2 teeth knocked out. And my jaw is wired, and I have fractures here. He hit my face.
He punched you.
Yeah. Bashed her face.
Yeah.
Mary Klein, the soon-to-be 55-year-old victim of the Venice Canal attacker, speaks with KTLA from her hospital bed, battered, bruised, but in many ways not broken. A stranger jumped her from behind while she was taking a walk near her home around 10:30 p.m. Saturday night, April 6th. She's not sure about the first blow, but says it sent her immediately into a daze. She does remember falling to the ground and being punched in the face and head repeatedly, bludgeoned, and other elements about the attack.
I think he was trying to kill me. But I'm very tall. I'm 6 feet tall. So I think maybe it might have been hard for him to keep me down. I don't know.
Yeah, you're a strong woman.
I know the other girl, she was in a coma.
Yes.
So I don't know how she's doing.
Do you remember him saying anything to you, or just the poundings, the beating?
I don't even remember feeling the hitting. I just know that I was on the ground. That's like getting hit by a truck.
She believes the man who beat her intended to kill her and a second victim that same evening. At last word, that woman was in a coma. Mary Klein is thrilled at news of an arrest and says the culprit should spend the rest of his life locked away from society.
They made an arrest. How do you feel?
I was crying because I was so worried about that girl, the other girl. And I hope she makes it. And we're lucky that I survived. And I feel so sad for her, and I hope she's okay.
So today we're announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Anthony Jones. He's a male, black, 6'1", 200 pounds, for the 2 assaults that occurred in Venice on April 6th.
So, yeah, you have to wonder if he has a previous rap sheet. Northside, he was released previously. I mean, I'd be willing to bet. I don't know. I'm sure we'll hear about it, but we're seeing this stuff way too often. Like this exact thing. I mean, and here's a comment that somebody left. This is what Democrat Councilwoman Tracy Park had to say. This is a Democrat Councilwoman, Tracy Park. She said, "I am sick and tired of living in the middle of a failed social experiment. We have all had enough. Enough with the ridiculous soft on crime, defund the police, catch and release, criminals are the victims policies that got us into this mess. Enough." Well, you have to ask, follow the money. And again, Soros DAs, sanctuary state policies. And then everybody says, quit voting for Democrats, that kind of thing. And it's just, they've rigged the elections, you guys, in every possible way that they can rig the elections. I mean, imagine if we didn't have Twitter. Like the 2020 election, Twitter, we couldn't talk about this stuff. You'd get your account nuked. All this stuff would get suppressed. And that makes you think even more. Like that's an organized and a coordinated effort to suppress information about violent crimes and the failed social experiment that's not working. But now we can at least talk about it. But you still have, it's still maddening. I talk about it every episode. We had COVID, so everybody got mailed a ballot. Remember they used to be called absentee ballots? Now they're just called mail-in ballots. Like it's just a thing now. Everybody gets mailed a ballot, and there's just signature verification. And then there's also, we don't require ID to vote in California. Those two things by themselves are like, you can't possibly have secure elections. There's no freaking way. Then you have ballot harvesting on top of that. Then you have the honor system to prove if you're an American citizen in order to vote in federal elections. Just check a box. Really? Fact check me. Go look into it yourself. DMV, automatically registering people to vote. I'm just like, well, how does the DMV decide what party affiliation to register people? And wait a minute, illegal immigrants can get driver's licenses here in California. Do they get registered to vote too? And how do are mistakes made? That kind of stuff. Ballot harvesting, every possible way. And, you get a full month to vote here in California, full month, early voting, they call it. Then they got, I think, 5 weeks to count the ballots. You've got the voting machines. Every possible way that an election can be rigged is in place. Every possible way. Like, what additional things can you do to make the elections less secure than they are in California? Like, what else can you do to make elections in California less secure? You can't do much. So it's like, even if you want to get rid of these sanctuary state policies, soft on crime stuff, I mean, how are you even going to know if Democrats decide to vote Republican or whatever? And I mean, Republicans are California Republicans, they're in on the take too. Last night's episode is talking about how you got SB 1414, and that's trying to make it so when some of you guys weren't watching last night's episode, that was all about, it's only a misdemeanor in California if you purchase a child for sex. It's only a misdemeanor. Then couple that with the open border policies and all the videos you see of people, adults bringing kids across the border that are knocked out on drugs. That you're like, wait, is that your kid, or are you smuggling a kid across the border? Because it kind of seems like you're smuggling a kid across the border. You drugged a kid and smuggled him across the border. It kind of seems like what's happening. Then couple that with the rape trees. You guys all heard about the rape trees that you see at the border, where you see undergarments laid all over the place. They're hanging from the trees because women in these caravans get raped. Kids get raped. This entire situation that they've set up is insane and out of control. It's insane and out of control, you guys. And I don't even, I don't know how you vote your way out of this. It's freaking bonkers. It's absolutely banana balls. Bopic, allow pets to vote. Yeah, I know, right? Through a government appointed translator. I know it's almost funny at this point. Get rid of voting machines. Well, that's the same thing, Tim Holiday. They made it illegal to hand count ballots. I forgot about that one. Every possible way. Shasta County's in a big old back and forth with Gavin Newsom about that right now. Every possible way that you can rig an election in California, that has been implemented. Tim Holiday, it's all part of the corporate machine. I don't know. I feel like this is more a part of the Soros machine, is what I feel like. This is all in that same chaos agents thing, the Cloward Piven strategy, collapse social systems, create chaos. The DAs, it's to move that agenda forward, to ultimately the outcome that they're going for is a strong man, is burn the Constitution. We need an authoritarian dictator to come in and stamp out all this crime. That's what you want the right ultimately calling for. And it doesn't matter how authoritarianism gets implemented, as long as it gets implemented, and then the left will ultimately get a hold of that power. Yep. HR brought down HR. Who's HR? HR. Hillary Rodham Clinton? I don't know. Brought down the I'm not sure what you're saying there. He. HR. I'm not making the connection. Sorry. Oh, he. Okay, I get it. Soros. Okay. He brought down the is that the symbol for the British pound at its height? Well, yeah, that's what he's done, is he collapsed, he shorts, brought down the pound. Okay, cool. Got it. Yeah. He shorts markets, he shorts. That's what he does. And like right now, it's like he's shorting America. He's trying to collapse America because he considers himself a god and he wants to collapse a nation, and he hates everything that America stands for. All that crap. All right. Let's keep going. I got one more thing here. So just to show like that California hates you even more. I don't need to share this. Just read it. So this is from Mike Netter. He says, even though Californians already pay the highest taxes in the nation, our state and local politicians are still proposing billions in new tax hikes. That's because we have a massive deficit that Gavin needs to figure out. Instead of defunding the high-speed rail, he's going to tax people more. Here's what is at stake this November in the 2024 election that's already rigged. He didn't say the rigged part. I added that. Number one, Prop 13. Repeal Prop 13. Politicians have placed 2 initiatives on the November ballot to gut Prop 13. Yes, that's like, what is it, AB1? Not AB1. There's something in there. It's not called repealing Prop 13. It's 2 other things. And I've explained it before. Prop 13 is the 1% tax on property tax, or the max 1% property tax, but it's taxed at the value you purchased your home at. So if you purchased your home in the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, your home's paid off, all you're doing is you're paying property tax on the original value of that home. So you got tons of Californians that have lived here forever. They bought their houses back in the 70s, 80s, even early 90s, when houses weren't millions of dollars everywhere you go. Well, if they repeal Prop 13, overnight, your house is assessed at its current value. So if you bought your house for $120,000 and it's worth $1.2 million now, look at what your property tax now becomes. 1% of that instead of 101% of $120,000. So they're trying to gut Prop 13 to recoup a ton of money where people would just be forced into foreclosure. They would just have to sell their houses. They would just have to leave. And if they don't pay the property tax, the government will come and just take your home from you. Property taxes, you don't really own your home with property taxes. It's insane. So number 2, the mileage tax. Politicians are proposing a 6 cents per mile tax, costing an average of $900 per driver per year. A mileage tax, you guys. How do they enforce that? How do they enforce your mileage? They make you, I guess the DMV would make you state what mileage you have on your odometer, and they would check it every year when you register your car. I guess that's the way they would do it. So, but I mean, would that just be the honor system? You just tell them how many miles that you traveled? Like, how do they do that? Is it reported by the insurance companies? More authoritarianism, more government bureaucracy, more crap that you got to deal with. You already got the real ID stuff. Number 3, utility tax. AB 205 requires all utility companies to switch to an unfair income-based utility rate where you will pay a higher electricity rates if you earn too much money. So they're going to associate your utility bill with how much money you earn, not with how much energy you're consuming. Okay, we already have insane. I mean, it would probably work well for me because I don't make shit. I'm poor. Like this, I really don't make anything. On that note, if you guys want to support, just go to my Twitter bio. You can support in Twitter bio. Keep me keep the roof over my head, keep the lights on, keep the dogs fed. Also, give the show a thumbs up. Get a chance, much appreciated. Repost, all that good stuff. So yeah, income-based utilities tax. Number 4, healthcare tax. Politicians propose to double California state taxes to fund government-run healthcare, costing an average of $16,000 per household per year. Number 5, a gas tax. Another gas tax, because we already have like 3. A new excess profits tax will be imposed to increase your gas prices. $6 a gallon here right now, you guys. That's how much gas prices are in my town right now. $6 a gallon. Okay. Number 7, exit tax. We already have this, I thought. And if you finally decide to move from California because of these costly taxes, state politicians want to force you to pay an exit tax for up to 10 years after you leave. No, it's not even a one-time tax. 10 years, you guys. You got to pay taxes for 10 years. I think, how are they going to enforce that? You're going to send, how do you enforce that? Okay. To block all 7 of these tax hikes and fight the local sales tax hikes, we're asking every fed-up taxpayer to join the campaign to pass the California Taxpayer Protection Initiative in November 2024 election. The California Taxpayer Protection Initiative would block all 7 of these tax hikes from being implemented and invalidate most of the local sales tax hikes. The CTPI, the California, what he just said, what is it? California Taxpayer Protection Initiative, also requires a statewide vote on any tax hike, a 2/3 vote on local tax hikes, and honest ballot titles with the words tax increase on the measure that contains a hidden tax increase, because that's what they try to do too. They try to shove it in there. They shoehorn in the tax increase and call out everybody gets a puppy. On this tax day in 2024, you can contribute to the fight against higher taxes in California by chipping into crucial campaign to fight Gavin and his new taxes. So, okay, they got an e-fundraising connection thing set up. That's what I used. I used e-fundraising for my campaign, for my failed campaign. Okay, guys. So that's what California is trying to do. They're just trying to 7 new taxes, and that's one thing that Californians pretty much all agree upon is only the richest of the rich champagne socialists want to increase taxes because they can weather that storm, and they're like, yeah, we got to fund the illegal immigrants' healthcare, all that kind of stuff. We got to fund the high-speed rail to nowhere and make sure Gavin can launder his money, all that stuff. Nobody would vote for this. So if these tax increases pass, our elections are, we already know the elections are rigged. The Prop 1 that Gavin just passed, that was money, more tax money for to build for homeless beds, essentially for housing for the homeless. That it wasn't even a lot of beds either. It was that got passed. It barely passed, and I don't see how it would have passed. I don't see Californians don't want to vote to spend more money. Everything here is astronomical, out of control. Californians aren't going to vote to spend more money. But somehow it passed. It's weird. Super weird. Universal mail-in ballots, no voter ID, 30 days to vote, 5 weeks to count the vote. Everybody gets registered to vote at the DMV. Illegal to hand count ballots, voting machines, ballot harvesting. Out of control, you guys. Absolutely out of control. All right. Prop 1 passed. Yeah. No, Prop 1 passed. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure Prop 1 passed. Tim Holiday, California is how much in debt? I think it's 77 billion is our deficit. But with like including pensions and all that stuff, it's like 200 billion. It's insane. Banana Republic stuff. Yeah, for real. California is its own like nation state, basically. It's like the 5th largest economy in the world, and Gavin Newsom considers himself like the emperor of California. He's out of his freaking mind. He's a madman. All right. Bopic, you're in London? This is freaking awesome. I'm international, you guys. This is awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love it. I love it when you guys are in the chat too. I've been doing this over a year now, and I really like it. I really like doing this, and I will be back tomorrow at 6:30. But this is all I'm going to get into tonight. I had a whole other page of stuff pulled up, but I blabber too much, man. I thought I didn't have enough stuff pulled up, and I was going to end up not even doing 2 hours. But yep, nope, I did 2 hours. Let's see. We are all on the same team. Yep, the human team. That was right. The RGS. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. Michael puts his heart into this and does a ton of work to bring the truth to light. The RGS, my savior. Got to have you on soon, man. All right. Well, yeah, that is all I got tonight. That is all I have for the evening. So, Cali Girl, Tangerine Shine, Tim Holiday, Terry Wallace, Northside, Ganko1, nice to see you again. Get all you guys over on Rumble. I think I got all you guys over on Rumble. Sorry if I missed you. There's a few of you guys in there in the chat. You guys are awesome, the RGS. I love it. Pete Grabber, always good to see you. B Sizzo, my man. Wally World. Gaslit Zombie. Tim Holiday. Oh, Tim Holiday, you're over on YouTube too, huh? I appreciate it. Awesome. All right. Yeah, that is all I got for the evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cali Girl, you watched the whole show. I love it. It's wonderful. You guys are so great. You guys just bring joy to my cold black heart. It's such a wonderful thing. All right, folks, that is all I got for the evening. I will be back tomorrow at 6:30. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. Tell a friend about the show. This is how I am supporting myself now, and side jobs and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, ways to support are in the description below. I also have links in my Twitter bio for you to, if you want to support. This is my GiveSendGo, www.givesendgo/GACW6. I will have a website up soon. I will have a merch store, all that kind of stuff. All right, let's get out of here. But before we do, you know how we do it. Got to tell a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. Let's see. What do we got tonight, folks? Let's see. What do we have tonight? All right. I haven't read this joke, but I haven't pre-screened it. Let's just hope it's a good one. They're not always good ones, but usually they are. All right. Chuck Norris joke of the evening. Here we go. If someone asks Chuck Norris what his favorite song is, he roundhouse kicks them in the face until they beg for mercy. He then tells them that it's music to his ears. And on that note, stay Cali-based.